Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. In this week's episode, I'm going to be going over how to beat dad guilt while staying fit. I hope everyone listening is having a great week so far. I know for me, my week has definitely been a lot better, a lot less hectic than last week. What I mean by that is I have a 18th, actually 19-month-old daughter. Typically during the week, we send her off to daycare. I drop her off about 8. My wife picks her up about 4 o'clock. And what happened is last Monday, we got a text from daycare saying she has a fever of 100.4. That's honestly another story. I come home, I take her temp, it's 98.6, perfect. But nonetheless, she got sent home. And this is a common theme within daycare. If you're a parent out there, I hope it is at least. Not that she gets sent home all the time, but if there's anything going around, if there's a stomach bug going around and she's showing any signs or symptoms, our daughter's going to be sent home. But nonetheless, she had been acting up a little bit over the weekend. She didn't seem like her typical self. She would just be standing in the kitchen and just start crying, where usually, for the most part, she's pretty happy. She can be a little angry at times. I mean, the dog might walk by and she tries to slap the dog. it's, we tell her no, but that just angers her probably a little bit more, but nonetheless, overall, for the most part, she's feeling pretty good. So she got sent home Monday, 10:30 in the morning, and then took her to the doctor. She ended up having an ear infection. She's probably had an ear infection 2 or 3 times at this point. I feel really bad because obviously she can't tell us what's going on, that she has an ear infection, that it's hurting. She wasn't tugging on her ear or anything like that, so I wasn't aware or thought of that, but nonetheless, got her started on amoxicillin and she's much better now. But that was on Monday. We kept her home Tuesday and Wednesday. My wife and I thought about sending her into daycare on Wednesday, but she just wasn't feeling and looking that good. So Thursday came around, she's feeling great. Okay, let's send her to daycare. And the week of this time happening was the week after the start of the new year. So I believe it was January 6th was the week that all of this was going on. So it was a pretty busy week when it came to work, where for my company and for my wife, we had about 2 weeks off. I had to do some work here and there, same with her, but there wasn't a whole lot going on during those 2 weeks. So first week of the year, there was a ton going on in each of our jobs. So it was juggling everything that was going on. And so send her off to daycare that Thursday, get a text about 10:30 in the morning that they have a sewage leak or sewage problem at the daycare. Have to go in, pick our daughter up at 12:30. Daycare's closed on Friday, so I think our daughter was at daycare for 6.5 hours. Excuse me, was there 6.5 hours the entire time that the entire week. So when she's typically there 40 hours and we're working 40 hours, that was a lot going on. But nonetheless, she's feeling a lot better. It was definitely very hectic. You're listening and you have a year and a half old son or daughter, I'm sure you know that it's not the easiest to work with them. At least our daughter, she's independent sometimes, where she'll go off and play on her own, but a lot of the times, and it's very cute, but she'll grab my wife's hand or she'll grab my hand and she'll drag us over to wherever she is and she wants us to play with her. It's funny. I always wanted a football, and I don't know why. I mean, I'm an adult. I can go out and I can buy a football, but I always wanted a football. And my wife was like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I told her a football, so I got a football. And it's funny. No, I got it. I'll give it to my daughter, and I'll like fake like I'm hiking it to her. I'll like toss it to her very gently, and it's a full size NFL football. Sometimes she catches it, sometimes she doesn't. But I'll yell go go go, and she'll run with it. I'll tell her to spike it, and she'll throw it down. So it's actually kind of fun to play with her, especially early on, where it's like survival mode. The first year was trying to understand everything that's going on as a parent, but now that she's about a year and a half, it's becoming, I want to say that it wasn't enjoyable before, but we can do a lot more with her now than we can previously done with her when she was, literally in survival mode and just making sure that she's staying alive. Now, before I get into today's episode, there's a couple other things that I wanted to go over and I wanted to share that story as that'll tie into today's episode. But if you're like me, I try to read a book about once every 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm in the process right now where I've read so many different business books that I'm more looking to read stories, whether that's based on history, whether that's athlete stories, whether that happens to be a business story. So the book that I read, and I recommended it before on a couple of previous episodes, was the Black, or I believe it's called Black Edge. I don't know if it's called The Black Edge, but Black Edge. I don't recall the author's name, but the book goes into these hedge funds on Wall Street and more about the insider trading that they're doing, and it goes through the FBI's and the SEC's case to take down Steve Cohen. He was the founder of SAC Capital. He's also now owner of the New York Mets. So it's just a fascinating story to learn how the traders within his company did insider trading, what it was like trying to come after him. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but I found it fascinating. It was about 300-page book. I think I read it in a week and a half. I was just very excited to read it. It was very fascinating to me. So if you're someone in the finance or if you're just looking for a great story to read, I highly recommend to read that book. And it does have some financial jargon in it, but she really dumbs it down. The author, I believe it's a she really dumbs it down so it's easy to understand. It's not going to go in over your head. She does a great job explaining everything. Now, I finished that book today actually, and the next book I started to read was called Iron Cowboy by James Lawrence. He does 50 Ironman triathlons in 50 days in 50 states. So far from what I'm reading, the book seems really good. It just dives right into he's like into his like 13th or 14th, 15th maybe triathlon, what he's going through, the issues that he's already dealing with. I'm only about 10 or 15 pages in this morning from what I read, but it seems like a great book if you're someone that is an endurance athlete. Hopefully you are if you're listening to this podcast. If you're someone that's into triathlons like I am myself, I highly would recommend checking this book out. I will hope to be able to share more information on future episodes, but that's one book that I've started to read and I seem to really enjoy. Back in, I think it was 2015, 2016, I always had an interest in real estate. And it was through real estate that I went off and I got my real estate agent's licenseship in Massachusetts when I was living at the time. Now I'm in New York. I took a 40-week class over winter break. It was pretty much 9 to 5 or however the hours were. That was the requirement. And Mass went off, took the Mass test, Fed test, and passed. But where I'm going with this is when I was in that real estate office, I forget how I did or what I did, but I won a CD album. And it's funny I say CDs because most people don't even use CDs, but the car I have right now is a Kia Optima, and my wife and I, we have a Ford Explorer. That's where we mainly drive our daughter in, but the Kia Optima, it's 2014, 2015, something like that, but it's paid off. So I'm like, well, all I really do is I drive it to the gym and home. So I'm not going to go out and spend money on a new car when this car is paid off. But the benefit of it is that it has a CD player within it. And I got a CD disc set, and it's a 3-day seminar in Anaheim, California. I want to say, from what I can tell, it's probably the early 2000s. And the speakers are Jim Rohn, it's Dennis Waitley, and I believe Zig Ziglar are the three speakers. I've listened to it off and on, but I don't know why I haven't listened to it fully. Where now I just want to listen to it as much as I can. And I listened to Jim Rohn speak a little bit, but right now I'm in the part where I'm listening to Dennis Waitley speak. So that's Dennis. I believe his last name is Waitley. And he's a motivational professional speaker, but I find just listening to him and the insights that he shares, just listening to him speak, and I listen to it when I'm driving to and from the gym, but if you think about it, that's 20 minutes. Total, it's about 10 minutes each way to the gym. That's what, 100 minutes a week, so an hour, 40 minutes a week of listening to this, plus wherever else I happen to drive my car. During the week, like I took my car grocery shopping with my wife and my daughter, and actually my dog, because they're taking her to get a bath at Pet Supplies Plus, and it just made sense where the grocery shopping was. So I had my wife and my daughter listening to Dennis Waitley in the car, and it was funny when Dennis would make a joke and the audience would clap. You could hear our daughter in the back also clapping as well. But I highly recommend checking him out. I know I have a book somewhere in my office or somewhere in my house by him. I haven't read it, but just listening to him speak. So I'd recommend checking him out on YouTube. I haven't heard too much of Zig Ziglar. I have heard good things about him. And then also Jim Rohn. I've heard nothing but good things about. I read his books. I just enjoy everything that he has to offer. So that's JIMROHN. So I'd recommend checking him out as well. And I find that you get a lot of these business influencers, or what, I don't know what exactly what you'd call them today, but the what I'm looking to say is the way that Jim speaks and the way that Dennis speaks, I'm assuming the way that Zig speaks as well. I feel like I trust it more than what I see when I go on Instagram or on YouTube and I watch these different videos. Not to say like it's not good quality content on there. There's just something about, here's someone that's been in business for 20, 30 years and they're sharing their experiences, where similar to Tony Robbins, but I don't know. I went to a Tony Robbins event. It wasn't like the Unleash the Power Within or anything like that. It was a seminar. He was having it in Boston. He was just there for the day. Went to, and I don't know. I read his books. I just find when I read Jim Rohn's books, they just speak to me more. Hopefully when I would read Dennis Waitley and Zig Ziglar's, I would imagine the same thing. I feel like I just trust them more. They're not just pushing products. Like, I find that right now, I see these business people like Tony Robbins and these other successful entrepreneurs, and they're all pushing different affiliate products. They're on each other's podcasts, where just like the advice that I've heard from Jim and I've heard from Dennis have just been time tested. It's just so easy to understand, and it motivates me in a way where it's not like I'm listening to David Goggins, where it's like, okay, if I don't go outside and run 100 miles today, I'm a failure. Where you listen to them and the practical principles, the advice that they give. So I highly recommend checking them out. And if you don't have time to check them out for too long, just go on to search some of the quotes by Jim Rohn or watch his YouTube videos. I guarantee you it's going to be well worth it. Obviously, this isn't a business podcast, so I don't want to get too much into the business aspect of it. It's obviously the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast. So I want to get a little bit more back into the athlete side of it. So probably about a week ago now, I was on a long run and I had a long workout in the morning. I was doing my long run on a Thursday. Usually I do it on a Friday or a Saturday, but just happened to be doing it on a Thursday. And I was just beat down. I don't know what the word to describe it is. Thursday is usually my longest workout of the week, where I'll do 10 different exercises, where 5 are back, where I'm just really hitting back, and then 3 for shoulders, 2 for triceps. So it's a long workout day. It's like an hour and a half in the gym, and then to come back and to do a long run. So it was just a long run, literally a long run. And where I'm going, there's a ton of elevation change. So there's 300 or 400 feet up and down. And when I'm just tired, I had just done leg day on that Wednesday, but I hadn't done it the week prior because it was Christmas. So now I'm doing it the following week. So my legs are very sore. I'm doing this long run. I honestly really got to go to the bathroom. I'm going to let you use your imagination on that one. Literally from like mile 1, I had to go to the bathroom. And my long runs right now, they're about anywhere from 8 to 10 miles, depending on what I'm looking to do for mileage in the week. And, anywhere from hour 10 to hour and a half is, maybe give or take a few minutes here or there. That's what I'm looking to do on my long runs. So I just really got to go like to the bathroom. I mean, I'm talking mile 1, knowing I got to go 9 more miles, feeling like I just got to run into the woods and go to the bathroom. So doing my run, just like powering through it, like legs killing me. I wanted this to be done. And I'm about 7 miles into this run, and I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom like real bad right now. Like it's almost becoming an emergency at this point. When I'm running like the backcountry roads, where I mean technically I could go in the woods, but that's not necessarily what I'm looking to do. So I'm about 7 miles out of my house, or 7 miles into this run, 3 miles out from finishing. I know I'm gonna do 10 miles today. I don't care what happens. All of a sudden, the sky's a little overcast and gray. Next thing you know, there's a snow squall coming down. And for those of you who don't know what a snow squall is, it's almost like a blizzard that comes on you real quick, and as soon as it comes on, it's done. So I'm 3 miles from the house. I still have a bunch of hills to run on this. I really got to go to the bathroom. Next thing I know, I'm hit with this snow squall. And I'm telling you, I could not see more than 5 feet in front of me for probably the next mile and a half. And the problem is it was kind of sunny and it was a little cloudy, so I had my sunglasses on. So trying to run and get in the snow, all of the sunglasses, and trying to wipe them off and trying to go up and down hills with all of the snow that was coming down, it was just not an enjoyable experience. And I actually, this past Monday, I was running. I was running in the afternoon after work because sometimes Mondays can be pretty busy with my job, and I find sometimes when I'm running, I'm just tired afterwards, where I may not be 100% mentally focused. So I'm gonna run after work on Monday, and I get done with my work about 4 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go off and do my run. That should be good for the day. And I'm going off and I'm running. It's literally nice and sunny out. Not thinking anything of it. About 3.5 miles in, and I check my phone. It said snow flurry starting in 18 minutes. I look outside. Yeah, okay, it's literally sunny right now. I expect the sun to go down, but I'm gonna keep it close by. I'm just gonna run in the neighborhood that's right near me. And I go off and I run, it's just a simple 5 mile run. Shouldn't take that long. Should take about 45 minutes, give or take. And I go off and 3.5 miles in, next thing you know, the sky's getting real dark. I'm like, okay, like what's going on? It's literally nice and sunny. Same exact thing. Snow squall, just snow, just and I didn't have a baklava on where on my previous snow squall I did, so I'm just freezing on my neck. I'm just freezing on my ears, and it's just not being an enjoyable time right now. But I pushed through it. I was happy to get done with it, and of course I come inside 10, 15 minutes later, it's back to being sunny outside. You just never know where you're gonna get where I am in upstate New York. So that was very interesting. Usually these snow squalls last for like 10 or 15 minutes and just pound you with snow, and then they're gone. At least that's what I'm getting in my area. So that that's been an adventure the last couple of times that I've been out there, or the last 2 or 3 weeks dealing with the snow. Now, last week, I don't think I've been as cold as I have been running. And I know I went through and I talked about, okay, like now I have a Gore-Tex jacket, I have Gore-Tex pants, I have leggings that go under them, I have a Under Armour cold gear, I double up on my gloves, I wear a hat. But so I did a run, and on Tuesdays I typically do a route where it has hills, where Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday I do, I guess more Monday, Wednesday, not too many hills. Friday, Saturday have hills, but usually the most is on Tuesday. That's just how I plan my running routes. So it was probably 40-mile-an-hour winds and 0 degrees with the wind chill on this particular run. So the way that this route works is I would start and I go off into and I go off into the neighborhood that's right next to me, and I go do a loop through that, and that's about a mile. Then I go through, I come out of my house, I take a right, go through the neighborhood that's right next to me. I run down the road, and I go through this little, like, it's like a side road. It's almost like an inlet where I go through it. It's a dead end, and I come up and back, and that's about 0.7. So between the two of them, running between the two of them, it gives me about 2 miles. But that entire 2 mile run was literally directly into the wind. And when I tell you, I feel like I had cinder blocks on my feet just pushing me back, it was just not enjoyable at all. So I get out of the side street and I keep going straight on the road that I'm on, and I take a right. I actually run by my daughter's daycare. Same thing, wind right in my face. So I go by my daughter's daycare, I take a right, and I'm on a different road for about 2 miles or so, and now I'm getting hit with a crosswind, and it's just literally just trying to push me over. Again, this is 40 miles an hour. It's not like it's in summer. It's 0 degrees outside. I'm just, with the wind chill. It's not like it's 0 degrees and then you get the wind chill, which I would imagine would be probably 30 degrees below zero. But just getting pushed to the side. But the nice part of it was Once I finished that route, I had about a mile to go, or a mile and a half to go. Once I got out of that road to finish up my 6 mile run for the day, and the wind was with me, and it just felt like I was just running so fast. But that was interesting, running in 40-mile-an-hour winds with 0 degrees. And I remember just thinking, I am just so cold right now on this run. Next day I get up, I'm like, it can't be any colder than the way that it is. And my legs are just very sore. I had leg day on Wednesday. Now I'm running. It's -3 degrees. And this is Fahrenheit. This isn't Celsius. I don't know what that means in Celsius. I imagine that it's warmer than, obviously it's warmer than -3 Fahrenheit. But that was just a brutal run. That was just running into the wind, -3. I just ran like 4 or 5 loops through the neighborhood right next to me just to finish up my 5 miles. And yeah, that was not an enjoyable run. I don't know if I want to run again outside once we get below zero. It's just not, it wasn't enjoyable. I mean, I got it done, but it took me probably a day or two just to thaw out from it. Now, what I will say is one of the best pieces of advice is that my dad gave me. And what I do is I'll get dressed, I'll put everything on, I'll put the balaclava on, and actually put another winter hat over that. If I'm wearing my sunglasses, I'll throw those on as well. And then I'll take some Vaseline and I'll put it all over my face. I'll put it on my nose. I'll put it on part of my forehead that's not being covered by the baklava or the hat. And I find that that helps me to stay a little bit warm, especially when it's very windy. I'll use chapstick on my lips. That honestly doesn't work too long. For me, I feel like I'm out there for a mile and my lips are chapped and the chapstick's gone. But definitely recommend putting Vaseline. I just literally just normal petroleum Vaseline, putting it on your face was very beneficial for me, especially when it's very cold out there. And I'm looking at these temperatures next week, and it's like the high is like 16, the high is 12, the low is 4. And if we get any wind, it's gonna be a cold, cold week running. And the goals, I don't have a treadmill, so the goal is always, if I have to use a treadmill, which I've had to use like once in the past month, where just it wasn't great. Not that it was cold out, but it like snowed and then it was slush and just I don't want to be running out. And I just did 6 miles on the treadmill or five. I think it was 6 miles actually on the treadmill at the gym. I was trying to think whether it was 5 or 6, but I try to hit the open road if I can, where I don't want to be running in slush where my feet get cold. That's just not going to be enjoyable. I ran this past Saturday when it was snowing and there was snow. That's fine because my feet aren't going to get wet and cold. I don't want to be running miles with my feet completely wet. I ran in the rain, but it's been like 45, 50 degrees in the rain. But yeah, it'll be interesting next week to see what happens with this weather. If it starts to get like -10, -20 Fahrenheit again, I don't know. That might be a little too cold. There's times out there where I'm running where it's 0, -3, -2, -1, 2 degrees out there where it's it hurts it hurts to breathe. It's hard to go fast out there when it's this cold. But without further ado, I want to hop into today's episode, which is beating dad guilt while staying fit. I the topic and the thinking behind this episode was that sometimes it's easy for me, and I would imagine that there's other people listening to this podcast out there, that I feel very guilty when I am working out or I am running while my daughter is home, or if she is awake, like on the weekends, as an example. I always feel as though that I should be spending time with her because she's at daycare 40 hours a week. I'm working 40 hours a week. And yeah, I get to see her on Saturday and Sundays, but I mean, she gets up about 7 during the week, drop her off at about 8, pick her up at 4, and we get her down for bed about 7:30. So there's only so much time that I get to spend with her during the week. So now when it's on the weekends or it's after work, I always felt guilty for, again, working out or one running. She is home or awake, I should say. Now, where I really felt this was when I was training for a triathlon. So this was a sprint triathlon. It wasn't an Ironman or anything like that. It was very simple. So it was about, I think, a 750-meter swim. It was a 25 mile, no, it was a 12-mile bike ride and I was thinking of the Olympic distance, and it was a 5K on top of that. But felt good running, terrible swimming, terrible biking. Knew I had to double down on each of those. I knew how to swim, I knew how to ride a bike, but when it came to swimming for any sort of distance, I had no idea how to do it. Same thing with riding a bike. I knew how to ride a bike. I hadn't ridden a bike in a very long time. So now I'm trying to do my normal running. I'm trying to do my normal workouts. Now I'm trying to bike and swim. So there's a lot going on, and especially our double down where I was training 7 days a week, and I would double down on this training for the triathlon, especially double sessions on bike, double sessions on swim. But once during the weekend, I don't want to be biking in the dark. I don't mind running in the dark. I don't want to be biking in the dark. Same thing with swimming. I don't want to be swimming in the dark. I'm going to be in my pool. I don't want to be swimming in the dark. I don't want to be swimming when it's light out. But because of that, in the summer, I mean, the sun gets up at least where I'm like 4:30, 5 in the morning. So I could wait, but it would typically happen during the middle of the day when I'd be doing this training session, and I would always just feel very guilty, or I'd feel guilty even if I'm not doing triathlon training, if I'm working out and I'm coming home from the gym and my daughter's been awake for an hour, and I get to see the enjoyment of getting her up out of her crib when I come home. I think it's just normal to feel this way, and I've always just felt it. Even today, I still feel it. So I just wanted to go through some of the tactics or ways that I've tried to overcome this dad guilt. So the first and foremost was I had to build a schedule. I had to rework my routine that allows me to get my workouts done while my daughter is at daycare. So, as an example, on Mondays I do deadlifts. So I started incorporating deadlifts back into my workout. Now that I've been doing it for 4 to 6 weeks, I'm working my weight up, and because of that, I find I need to warm up more because I'm using a heavier weight. And then instead of taking 45 or 60 seconds in between sets, I need to be taking at least a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Plus, I have my other exercises that I'm going to be doing that day. So when I would get up at 4:50, the workout might take an hour and a half, and I'm not leaving the gym till 7:20. Now I get up at 4:15, and I get to the gym, and I get back, and I end up leaving the gym by 6:40, 6:45 in the morning. That way I can ensure I can get my workout done and still be home for my daughter. The way that it works at my gym and what's been beneficial is I just started within probably the last month or so, maybe the last couple months, is 24-hour access at the gym, where originally it was only 5:30, where now I know if I need to get up, I need to get into the gym a little bit earlier, I can do so. So I reworked my schedule even further, where beforehand I would do a minute set in between deadlifts or minute rest in between, and I'm doing 4 sets of 6 on this, which is why I feel as though I need more than a minute. I'm doing a pretty heavy weight for 6, or I'm doing 5 reps, 4 sets of 5 on the deadlifts. And I just come home like absolutely exhausted because I never was giving myself enough rest time in between sets, and maybe I wasn't being able to lift as much as I could. Or right now, I know Saturdays, I cap Saturdays off my week of running with 5 miles. So I run Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I take Thursdays off. I take Sundays off completely, no lifting on Sundays. So I know she gets up about 7:15ish in the morning. So I set my alarm for 6:30 on Saturdays. So I know I'll be out the door by 6:30 at the absolute latest. More often than not, because I get up between 4:15 and 4:50 throughout the week to get up and go to the gym, I'm usually waking up honestly no later than 5:30 on the weekend. So I'm already up, so I never really have to worry about it. But that was one avenue, was making sure that I could work out before my daughter is up, before my daughter is awake. And then after I drop her off at daycare, I come home and I run. I know people say that you should work out, give yourself about 8 hours in between before doing your second workout. That doesn't work for me. I can't be running later in the afternoon, especially too often. I know I mentioned earlier I ran at like 4 o'clock on Monday or 3:45, I just had a ton of work to do that I couldn't get done the prior week with our daughter being home. Not that I couldn't get it done. It's hectic having your daughter home, trying to get work done throughout the week. So just kicked the can to this week, and now I was trying to catch up on it. Oh, there's still going to be times when you feel that guilt, but you have to push past it. And that's why I share that story of our daughter being home, where she was pretty much home every single day throughout the week. Yeah, I could run on that Monday, and I could run. Well, I guess I didn't run. Yeah, I didn't run on that Thursday, but she's home that Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, knowing like I got to get my run in. Do I time it up when she's having her nap? Do I just go out in the morning and get it over with? I mean, I'm only running 5 miles, 6 miles, 5 miles while she's there. So I'm running, say, an hour or less. So it should be less than an hour. Do I just go off and do it? So just thinking of the sacrifices that I would have to go off and do, and still feeling that guilt, but knowing like I still got to put the work in. It's only for a limited time right now. Next week she'll be back to daycare and we'll be back on our regular routine, exactly what's going on in this week. But sometimes you're still gonna feel that guilt and knowing like, okay, I gotta push past it. I would say coupling along the lines of training for the triathlon, what I would also do is similar to that when I was training for my marathon, as I started to progressively do my marathon training longer, I would get into my longer runs. So I'd do 14 miles, 16 miles, 18 miles, 20 miles. And I would get up earlier and earlier. And then when I was training for my marathon, I would do these long runs on Saturday. I knew I could not do these long runs and work a good work good at my day job on Friday. I know that if I can run 10 miles, I can come back and I'll feel good. Yeah, I might be a little bit tired, but I'm running 20 miles. I'm cooked. I'm done for the day. I need to lay down and just relax at the end of that. So I would get up at 4:15, I think, to go off and run. 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays, get up and go on these long runs. I knew I had to do whatever it took to make sure that I get these long runs in, where I'm not just wasting. Not that I'm wasting time, but I'm not spending these times where, let's say I could go off and I do my run at 7 and my daughter's up at 7. Like that 20-mile run took me like 2.5 hours or 3.5 hours to do, where next thing you know it's 10:30 in the morning and I missed that 3.5 hours that I should be spending with her. So I really just had to rework my schedule where, I mean, I just got up every single day early on Monday through Friday. I just want to stay up maybe a little bit later on Friday or just relax on Friday night. But no, I got to get up in the morning, and this is what it takes to get the job done. If I want to train for this marathon, this is what I have to do. And sometimes you just have to stick with it. Yeah, I don't really enjoy running at 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning in the backcountry of upstate New York, where I'll go literally 2 hours of my run and not even see a single soul. There's not even lights on in houses. That's not enjoyable for me. But if I wanted to complete this marathon and I wanted to do it without feeling guilty for training for it while my daughter is home, while my daughter is awake, this is exactly what I need to do. I learned that sometimes you have to be flexible without necessarily feeling that guilt. So I can go through last week where my daughter's home, so maybe I switch up my times that I'm running so I can focus on more when it's getting closer to her nap time. Just because I am being flexible, that doesn't mean that I'm not getting my workout or my running. Maybe she was up all night and maybe I'm going to as an example, there was times where I have my long runs on Saturday mornings where she's sick in her crib, or I don't want to say in her crib, but she's sick. We have to take her out of her crib throughout the night. She's been up 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. and then I have to get up at 4 a.m. to run. Running on 1 hour I'm probably going to start hallucinating. So I have to push that run off maybe a little bit later in the day. I'm going to still feel that guilt, but I know that I have to get it done and it's only a one-time thing. And my wife knows that it's only a one-time thing. And it's having that correspondence with her to know that I have to get these workouts in. Sometimes they're not going to be at the best time, but doing my absolute best to plan these workouts so that I am not running while my daughter is home, that I'm not working out or running while my daughter is awake. Occasionally, it's going to happen, and you have to learn to be flexible and be adaptable. But if I could go back and train for this triathlon, or what I'm looking to do potentially this year is to do an Ironman or do a half Ironman, so 70.3, is I would rework my schedule so I don't feel that guilt as much. I would probably cut back on the running a little bit because I don't know if I could do 5 days of running on top of biking, on top of swimming, on top of working out 5 days a week. Maybe I join my local YMCA where I can train through the winter, and they have a pool there. I wish it was 24 hours, and I was looking at it the other day because it doesn't open up till 5:30 in the morning because it'd be great to work out and then go and do my swim. But nonetheless, and trying to make it home for 7, that'd be tough. But with that said, I know that if I plan it, I'm gonna work it so that I can be flexible, so that I can spend as much time as possible with my daughter. And sometimes it's good to show her what I'm doing. And what I mean by that is sometimes, like last week, she sees me getting ready to go on my runs. She does happen to wake up early and she sees me coming home from the gym, and you can tell she's curious. I have my shaker bottle, I have my gym bag, and she's like, obviously she doesn't know I was at the gym, but she's like, where was dad? She's starting to recognize that she sees me coming running up the driveway sometimes, and she's clapping. And but it's awesome because, as an example, I have a marathon photo in my kitchen, and it's a photo of me running up a hill that my dad had printed on a nice piece of glass, and I have it up in the kitchen. And it's funny because she'll turn around and she'll point to it sometimes when we're eating dinner or breakfast or lunch, depending on the day of the week. And she'll turn around and she'll say, "Run, Dada." And it's very cute. And I feel as though she's starting to pick it up. Or when, like I mentioned before, when I'm getting ready for a run like last week, and she tells him I'm getting my shoes on, I'm getting my whole outfit on, and she says, "Go, Dada." It's in those moments that I know that I'm making an impact on her, that she's starting to pick up that I'm going off and I'm running, that I'm participating in these events. Obviously, she has no idea exactly what's going on, but over time and the older that she gets, I want to just keep reinforcing her that I've been working out, that I've been running, that I've been doing these events. I want her to work out. I honestly want to be able to do these events with her, but I'm not going to push her to do them. I think that I just want to set that example. And then over time, she'll have that interest like I had for my father and my brother, where they were working out, and all of a sudden I started to pick it up. And I want that to rub off on her. But that's really how to beat dad guilt while staying fit. Just know it's a normal process, especially as you're starting to expand your workouts and what you're looking to do and your events. But what I would recommend to everyone out there that's looking to overcome that guilt is just building that schedule that allows you to get your workouts done when your son or your daughter is awake or they're away. That way, you don't have to deal with that dad guilt. And sometimes it's still going to happen, but you just have to be flexible with it.